In this video, I'll show you the basics on how to create a retention report and analyze it to understand user engagement and improve your product. Let's get started. Why is retention analytics important? At each stage of the user journey, retention analytics help answer key questions such as: at what point do your users stop getting value or stop coming back? Do your users see value immediately? Or is your app sticky? Retention is the true measure of your app's value. Now let's dive in and create a retention report step by step. First, you'll have to head over to the retention tab and click on create a report. Then you'll have to select a start action. The start action is the action you'd like to use as the foundation of your retention report. This step helps define when the retention analysis should begin. It's usually a basic action that indicates initial interest in your app. Common start actions include when a user signed up, when a user first visited your app, or specific actions such as trying out a new feature. You can choose events, screens, first visits, or app launch as your start action. Since our app is a grocery app and users don't need to create an account to use it, let's choose first visit to our app as a start action. The second step is to define the cohorts using the group by right over here. If you're new at retention, you might not know what cohorts are. A cohort is a group of users who experience the start action at the same time. You can decide to group users by day, week, month, or quarter. In our case, if we choose to group users by week, our reports will group users who visited our app for the first time the same week together. Now it's time to choose the return action. The return action is the action that you want your users to repeat over time. Essentially, it is the action that indicates they are getting value from your app. Choose the return action that aligns with your app's goals. For a grocery app like ours, the ideal return action would be for users to complete a purchase. So let's go ahead and choose that. If you choose an event or screen, you have the flexibility to choose one or multiple actions for both start or return actions. You can also specify the minimum amount of times this action should happen. Now, we need to select the return interval. Basically, it's how often you expect users to perform the return action. In our case, we expect users to come to our app and purchase groceries every week, so we will select each week. You also need to specify whether the return action needs to happen in each week or in or after each week. This will change how returning users are counted. If you want to see how many users come back each week, then you should select in. In our case, if we choose this, you will see how many users came back and performed the return action exactly on week 1, on week 2, on week 3, and so on. If you just want to know how many users are coming back at some point to your app and perform the return action rather than an exactly specific week, you should choose in or after. For example, if a user comes in week 1, performs the return action, and doesn't come back in week 2, but does come back in week 3, then this user will still be counted in week 2, because it still has come to your app after week 2. Just like dashboards, you can add filters to focus your analysis to specific users. By default, users are grouped based on when they perform the start action. If you would like to dig deeper, you can additionally group by device properties such as app version or user properties like location to compare cohorts furthermore and identify differences in retention. Now we're ready to analyze our report. The retention curve illustrates how effectively your app retains users over time. You can change the date range you'd like to analyze over here and choose between percentage and count. When analyzing averages, make sure you choose percentages. The curve shows the overall average retention rate for the entire time period selected. You can hover over the curve to see the average retention rate for every day, week, month, or quarter, depending on the return interval you have selected. The table below the graph is the retention table. It offers a more detailed breakdown of your retention data. The first row shows the overall average retention, which is displayed by default in the curve. Each row below represents a cohort of users grouped by when they performed the start action. Since we grouped our cohorts by week, each row shows users who visited our app for the first time the same week. You can select specific cohorts within the table by ticking in the box and visualize how their retention compares either to each other or to the overall average retention. Depending on your strategy, you can expect 3 different curves. A flattening curve, which is the red one, indicates that a portion of your users who initially engaged with your app continue to find value in it over time. Not all flattening curves are the same. The higher the point at which the curve flattens, the better the long-term retention. A declining curve, which is the black one, is when the retention curve continually declines, eventually dwindling to very few or zero users. In such cases, it becomes crucial to reevaluate and modify your app to offer a more compelling value proposition. Lastly, a smiling curve, which is the blue one, and the one you should aim to have, is where the retention curve actually increases again at some point. As switching costs rise for these users, they find it more beneficial to come back. Let's have a closer look at the retention table. You can hover over any cell to see the number and percentage of retained users, and the same for dropout users. The use of color in the cohort table helps you quickly identify retention patterns. The blue shading gets darker the higher the retention percentage. For example, if you observe that one cohort or row has a significantly higher retention rate while others are much lower, you can investigate what distinguishes that particular cohort. Did you run a specific campaign? Did you launch a new feature or target a different audience for that cohort? I hope this video helped you better understand how you can analyze retention, and you can always reach out to us or check out our Help Center articles for more help.